pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okey-doke, roll call, please.
Clark? Fredericks? No. Kite?
Here.
Lindman?
Here.
Nesro?
Here.
Schneider?
Here.
Ford?
Here.
Pepper?
Here. I know we did hear from Kathy, and I know we heard from Scott. I don't know if we hear anything from Jim. Well, with that, I'll motion that we excuse Mr. Fredericks and Ms. Moretto.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay.
Who's the second?
Moretto?
No.
Fredericks and Moretto?
Second.
Oh, I seconded.
Okay, thank you.
Second by Lindman, yep. That brings us to approval of the agenda. Don't think there's any
I don't see any
changes.
changes. I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second. Somebody
Okay.
second.
Motion by Lindman, second by Fredericks.
Or Weber.
George. Weber. No. Paul.
Oh, was it Paul? Oh.
Snyder.
The short ones.
Paul.
Paul.
Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Somebody
Carried.
second it.
And then I would like to hear a motion to approve the minutes from the January 26th meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, motion by Thorne, second.
Support.
Second by Weber. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving right along here. We have no public hearing. We have no correspondence.
We have no
call-
public?
Yeah, no public to call to. So that would bring us to new business item 1, hot tubs and spa ordinance language. Let's see. Was that the last meeting? Was that something that Sally was looking
Yes,
into?
and Sally sent us some information. on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's right. Okay. We would love to hear what you found out, Sally.
Well, it's detailed in my attached memo, which I'm sure you all got.
Right.
And I did look into,
Uh-oh.
I did do some research on hot tubs and spas, and that's the results of this memo, or is explained in this memo. And I really kind of wanted to talk with you about some of these items before going ahead and drafting the language itself. You'll see that I found some kind of typical dimensions of what a moderately sized hot tub or spa is, and provided you with that information. I would assume that if you were to wanting to include these things in the lakefront yard, that you would say, well, let's go in the middle. Let's not do the smallest size. Let's not do the biggest
Right.
size. Let's find something that's reasonable and in the middle. So that's what that represents. There are current limitations on swimming pools, and swimming pools currently are considered a hot tub. Excuse me, a hot
Vice
tub
versa.
vice versa is considered a swimming pool. So, and most hot tubs sit on top of something. They are not put into the ground like you would put in a swimming pool, an in-ground pool. So, sitting on top. So, when our ordinance says you can't have an above-ground pool in the lakefront yard, that means then you also cannot have a hot tub that sits on the ground or on a deck.
Yeah, and there are a good number of them around the lake.
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
So you're kind of catching up with this ordinance language.
So on that, Sally, one of the things I think we talked about a little bit was if we're going to have them, rather than looking at from the water back, saying they've got to be, it was like 10 feet from the house or something that was close, something that could be measured from the house rather than backwards from the lake.
And I think Tabitha might have mentioned to me that most of the hot tubs that are out there now are pretty close to the house.
Right.
So that would be reasonable. You know, you're trying to make make what's out there compliant with the ordinance. So I think that would be reasonable.
Because what we're trying to protect, right, is kind of, it's the view shed, right? It's kind of, we just don't want somebody putting a giant hot tub in the middle of their yard, and the neighbors now can't see the water.
Now, you can give me a dimension if you've got something in mind, or I could also look to see if there are other ordinances that have something like that. Typically, most of the ordinances I found regulate hot tubs and swimming pools the same way. But and I looked at lakefront communities, very few of these lakefront communities have special provisions for lakefront yards. You guys really are unique in that you're really trying to preserve neighbors' view sheds. So there's not a lot of examples out there. So if you had a specific dimension, and too bad Kathy's not here, maybe she would have an understanding of what is currently, typical. But I could maybe also ask Tim.
I mean, a
He's
lot
got
of
an
people
idea.
put them on decks or patios.
Yep.
So what would be the average depth of a patio, and maybe we look at that, right? Because, I mean, having it right up against the house, some people want to have a little bit of distance,
Sure.
right? So, I mean, my initial thought was like 15 feet. I would imagine like a deck is probably 20 feet on average,
Could be.
right? And then, so you could have it maybe at the end of your deck, but not all the way at the end of the deck. And
So that would be the closest edge of the hot tub would be 15 feet from the house.
yeah,
So then the rest of the hot tub could flow into the remainder of the yard.
yeah, as long as it's not a 40-foot long hot tub.
Well, we're hopefully going to have some limits here about the size.
Well, the other thing is, it's going to be considered an accessory structure.
Right.
It would be.
That's
yeah.
what I was going to
So,
say. We already
if-
have
if you-
dimensions set up for that.
If you remember when we looked at, kitchens and fireplaces down by the lake, we regulated the size of those because we didn't want something too massive.
And the distance from the lake, not
It
from
would
the
be
house.
Minimum of 20 feet from lakefront.
And that's, I think I put
Yeah,
that in
you
this
did put that
memo,
in
yeah.
yours. I saw that.
Right, and that would stick with the non-obstruction of view with a tall tub or whatever, yeah.
And it would have to conform to setbacks, side yard setbacks also, 10 feet off of each side, so.
Yeah.
But I think we need to distinguish between a hot tub and a swimming pool and treat them somewhat separately.
I agree,
I agree too.
yeah.
Because is a pool an accessory unit?
Yes.
It is, even if it's in ground?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, you're only allowed one, right?
Right.
Yeah, you
So
can't have a hot tub and a pizza oven
So
and
you-
a gazebo and...
you couldn't have a hot tub and a pool unless they're together, combined
Unless,
together.
right. That's a current limitation,
Right.
right?
And most people that put an in-ground pool in, if they want a spa, they're gonna put it integrated into the pool.
I would assume so,
Yeah.
but
But if we do the 20 feet back from the water, that's still way down there.
Yeah, it
Again,
is.
from
It
the
could
view
be,
shed.
From a lot of
depending on the
people,
lot.
Yeah,
Mhm. I agree.
So I was thinking 15 feet from house.
from the house.
Yeah.
I like
But
the
also
measuring from the
With a
house.
setback of at least so many feet from the lake, because if you have somebody that's right on the water, I think we still need to have some kind of setback from the lake for the view shed.
I think that, yeah.
Well,
I
the
think
other
that-
thing about a hot tub is you need, don't you need a
Power.
phone connection?
Electrical and-
You need an electrical connection, and you don't want to spend, well, maybe I'm cheap,
could.
but I wouldn't
They
want to
could.
Some
spend
people
all that
could.
money,
To run it all the way down.
running it all the way
Line down
down.
Well, the wire's cheap.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
that's cheap. It's the rest of it that's the expensive
Mm-hmm.
for hooking that up. But I think it's a good point. You have the two measurements, and then if they
you're-
can't meet the water, then it's got to be closer to the house. But
Yeah.
it's their choice then.
All right, so what I hear is everybody's wanting a measurement to safeguard the shore line, make it not too far from the house. We only need one, and that's it, right?
So I was listening to somebody else while you were speaking. So your solution was,
I was saying 15 feet from house, right? And
Max or min?
max.
Max.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and then do we want to do a setback from the lake as well, like 25 feet, 30 feet? I don't know what the average depth or distance from house to lakefront is, but
I'm already confused.
Yeah, I am too. 'cause-
well,
A maximum, like you can't go further than 15
right,
feet from the house?
the starting
right.
edge of your hot tub cannot be further than 15 feet from your house.
It has to be within that first 15 feet.
Yes.
So then,
The water's edge wouldn't play in because if you can't go
Unless it's
further
really
than
short.
15
Unless you have a short yard,
yeah.
right?
So I think we would
Or
say
80-foot
like,
top.
Well, Scott Frederick's house on the canal is really close to the water.
Is the, is
It's probably
that,
50 feet.
and I'm
No.
only, because I know it's gonna come up in
Yeah.
campus and we're gonna end up with things, but is the 15 feet that, if it can't be further, then that's the outside edge of the hot tub?
That'd be the inside edge.
Inside.
Or
that's the
inside?
closest
The
point of the
fir-
hot tub to the house.
So let's say if we allowed a
It'd be 15
7
feet or less from the house.
to
Yes.
the
Yeah.
inside
So the
edge.
starting
Just
edge
wanna
of
be
the,
real
Yeah,
clear with
yeah,
the
right.
language, or
But
we're
I-
gonna run into more
I
problems.
really think it'd be nice to look at some other ordinances to try to figure
Yeah.
out how they regulate it, to tell you
Well-
the truth.
Well, they regulate them like pools, and they're very permissive.
Okay.
Well, are we gonna get snagged up in, part of the ordinance calls for you can't put certain things within a certain distance of the lake, but on this particular thing, we're using the house as the measuring point.
Well, hot tubs can be, and they wouldn't be nearly as tall as a chimney for an
Right,
outdoor
right.
Exactly.
pizza oven
Generally,
or something
30,
like that.
36 inches or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
So we
40
can
inches.
treat them special, in other
Well,
words.
that's why Brandon's saying 2 measurements.
I just, what I was saying, like, if you have a house that's, say, 20 feet from the shoreline,
Yeah,
and somebody says, well, I want to put my hot tub on that 15-foot
gotcha,
arc,
so that it's
and that hot
extending
tub is 7 feet long, now
Right.
their hot tub is bordering right on the edge of
right
the...
on the edge of the water.
Right? So,
Gotcha.
if it's something like that, obviously, we need to take a look, like, hey, like, you only have 20 feet.
Yeah.
So your hot tub would have to be
Right.
at least 15 feet from the water, so that means it's going to be 5 feet from your house, or against your house.
Gotcha.
So I think we would
You know
say
what I'm
it's
saying?
something like, the closest edge of the hot tub shall not be any further away from the house than 15 feet, but in no instance shall it be any closer to the lake than
Then-
20 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
solid.
yeah, that sounds good.
The only other question I have is the 7x7 hot tub, which isn't the standard? Is that standard? I know it's kind of
This
not
is
the biggest-
standard
Isn't it an
mid-size.
8x8? I mean, I've seen some giant ones.
Yeah, 9
They got,
by
like,
9 or
swim
10 by
spas.
Their
9.
swim
and stuff
spas
like
can be
Yeah,
pretty big.
yeah, those are, but is an 8x8, I don't know what the.
8x8's a pretty good size.
That's
I mean,
probably
that's what
decent
I-
size.
But is that
Yeah.
the standard size?
We went shopping
Or is
last
it-
summer, and it was like 7x7 is like your
That's the standard.
standard, 8x8 is like your premium size, and then you go into like the swim spas that are
Yeah.
20x8 or something, you know? So,
I think we should make it 8 by 8.
yeah, I think 8x8,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, 8x8's a good size hot tub.
And then we're not looking at variant, people aren't going to the ZBA because they got an
Right.
8-foot versus a 7-foot.
Half foot all the way.
Well, the ones that are there are grandfathered in.
Yeah,
So they're there regardless of what their size is and where they're located.
so get them in now if you
It's
want to.
just the new ones we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
And then you'd
Well,
also
right now,
included a
you can't
10-foot setback
technically
for the
put 'em
side.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what currently the swimming pools are, 10 foot.
Yeah, so I think that's probably reasonable.
Okay. So should we table that?
Well, is there anything else we need to discuss on this while we're at it?
That's your write-up with, hit all the,
Are we just gonna allow just one pool or one hot tub then?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just to clarify,
I would think.
if somebody had an in-ground pool and they wanted to put a hot tub in, they wouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
Well, do we need to settle on a definition for the hot tub?
I can do that.
Okay.
We'll talk about ordinance language next time. We're really, hopefully just today, talking about bigger concepts.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Sally.
Thanks.
I had no idea there were so many different shapes on a hot tub.
I didn't
Yeah, that's
either.
cool.
They're crazy now.
Mm-hmm. And they've got stereos in them.
Yeah. There was one I saw at the store. They had speakers all over the back. I was like, well, that's a neighbor annoyer.
Some of them
Yeah.
have,
That's what that is.
Get some little light show.
Yeah, like
and some of them have like a pergola out
Fountains
top
and-
too.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's another good reason not to have it, you know, out in the yard, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Not
will.
the fact that it wouldn't be nice, but.
As far as the 8-foot hot tubs, I think they're slightly taller. So the medium-sized hot tubs were essentially 7 foot by 7 foot by 39 inches tall. I think the bigger ones, the bigger you
They do
get.
have some deeper ones.
The deeper ones,
The
the deeper
soakers,
they get.
yeah.
I think the one, when I looked at them, because we bought one not that long ago, and they were, the 8-foot and the 7-foot were the same depth.
Okay.
At least where we went to look, because
Okay.
I specifically asked that question because didn't want something that was deep, but also 8-foot was like ginormous. Just, it was.
That's not saying that you couldn't recess it
Yeah.
into a deck or patio too.
Yeah.
Are you good, Sally?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're ready for a motion to table.
I move we table the hot tub discussion to the next meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion by Snyder, a second by Thorne, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to tabled business, mixed-use district, item A. Let's see, gosh, it's been a while.
And we'll need a motion to untable that.
Yes, thank you. We are going to discuss that, right? Yes, okay, so.
I'll motion that way on the table.
Okay,
I'll second.
motion by Neto, second by Thorne, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, untabled. Mixed-use district. And,
Well, I know with Sally ended up going through this and ended up putting a pretty good comprehensive.
yes,
Well, the other good thing about this language is the village administrator reviewed it and the village attorney reviewed it.
nice.
And
Okay.
they made the modifications that they thought were necessary.
Okay.
And just kind of a real quick summary, the uses in this mixed-use district are essentially a combination of the local commercial and the single-family residential zoning district. There were a number of repeated uses, so that was good. So, I really tried to make sure that the commercial uses were the lowest intensity, because if they're going to be mixed in with single-family homes, you don't want real high-intensity uses. Essentially, the location of this district and the number of lots in the district are going to prohibit any high-intensity uses because it's closer than 1,000 feet. And your ordinance currently says no high-intensity uses within 1,000 feet.
And they'd have to accommodate parking, too.
And parking, and these lots are small.
Right,
Yeah, right.
They're just not big enough.
Yeah.
So, and the other main thing I wanted to let you know is, I am suggesting, and actually, the village attorney suggested the one lot, and then I thought about the second lot. But on this map that you received, the 2 lots on the ends, this lot doesn't really make sense to include in the mixed-use district down here.
Right.
Because all of these down here are residential uses. There's no commercial uses at all
Right.
down here. So why not just cut off the mixed-use district at the street?
Sally, that one with no address is actually already rezoned to residential.
Correct. Yeah, we
Yes,
rezoned,
it is rezoned to residential. You're
we
right.
rezoned that a couple of years ago.
And, yeah, rezoning it to mixed use is not going to change what they can do there. They could still do residential there. So, but then this other teeny tiny little guy on the other end,
Right.
even though there are commercial uses to the west of it, it's just way too small to be used for commercial uses. So it doesn't make sense to rezone that one to mixed use. So I'm suggesting that just the ones that are identified by the white hatch line
Agreed.
be
Yeah,
rezoned
that
to
makes sense.
Sounds
mixed
good.
use. And I know I probably provided way too much detail in my memo, but you never know, you might be interested.
Great reading,
Oh, good.
Nicely done.
especially the dark parts.
So, if everybody's looked at it and nobody has any issues, we were going to send that for approval by council, to council?
No, you have a public hearing first.
Public hearing? Ah,
Yeah,
geez.
you have to have a public hearing, and then once you have the public hearing, then you can make a recommendation to village council.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to retable that until the public hearing is set?
Well, we have to set up for a public hearing.
Yeah, motion set for a public hearing, and then table it, I guess?
That would be
I'd
right.
like to table it to be set for public hearing.
Okay.
That's the next step.
Thank you. All right. So, yeah, I would love to hear a motion to set the mixed-use district up for a public hearing.
Motion that.
That'd be our next planning commission meeting?
Yes.
Second?
Okay, motion by Thorne, second by Snyder. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
So
Okay.
how much lead time do we need for
2 weeks.
2 weeks for the spinal column?
Motion carries.
Well,
Is that enough time, Sally?
I don't know, because it has to be in a newspaper of general circulation 15 days before the meeting. So if you have your meeting on X date, you need to count back 15 days, and then you have to find the publication that happens before that. Because you're never going to, since newspapers aren't published every day anymore, it's going to be probably the previous week, and then she's got, the newspaper has certain deadlines that all have to meet. So it's possible that it may not be until May.
So
Okay,
No, I can meet 15 days. There's a
Can you?
public notice
Weekly.
circular that goes every week
Yeah.
that
Okay.
we can make
Right.
this week.
Okay.
so the new spinal
So
column,
that would be the
Yes.
27th.
just a real thin.
That'll work. Okey-doke.
Hearing will be April 27th.
Yes. All right, that brings us to liaison reports. Council.
Way ahead of that. Okay, so February, we had announced our Citizen of the Year award, and that was to,
Mike Knish.
Mike Knish, yep. So we presented that to him. Let's see, what else did we do? Had tiki candles, we set the tiki candle purchase, and everything. So we're moving forward on that, downgraded, down the amount of candles that we're purchasing a little bit. And that was pretty much about what we did in February. February, we did have a work session, which is our goal-setting session, and went through our previous listing for goals the last couple of years, and a lot of them were pretty much taken care of. We discussed upgrades to Clara Miller Park with our new DNR grant. Canal maintenance, which has been ongoing. Tree
Inventory?
survey,
Or something?
yeah. Tree inventory, that's moving forward. And some upgrades to some furniture in Village Hall and stuff like that, so. Then, in March, we appointed Jim Sparks to the Water Management Board, and he's pretty well versed in water clarity and everything. He worked on the Rouge River project, watershed project. Had Chief Ellsworth requested us to hire David Juzik and Rocco Asia as part-time Marine officers. We approved that. We approved purchase of a new boat lift for the new boat since the old lift was
Kinda had destroyed,
trashed. Yeah. And PD's getting 4 new desktop computers for their department. And that was pretty much about it. We introduced a couple of those other ordinances for sump and water discharges, which we'd introduced before. We adopted that one and introduced an ordinance to catch us up on our burning ordinance for fires, for campfires and stuff, to correspond with Commerce Township's fire department. So that was about it.
Okay.
I don't think there was anything else, was there, Ted?
Thank you for the report, Brian. That brings us to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, Parks and Rec's been busy. We had 2 regular meetings and a work session since
Wow.
planning met last. Saturday's our Easter Bunny luncheon, which is completely sold out. We got 100 people coming, 48 kids, 52 adults.
Holy smokes.
We're going to put on a heck of an event for that. We're trying to work on some bus trips, but apparently about 2 years ago, the grant money we used to get for the buses is no longer available. And then, like everything else, the cost of buses has gone up dramatically. Last year, they were about $700 to charter a bus for roughly half a day or so. Now it's about over $1,200, nearly doubled. So the issue that caused, like we're trying to do this Eastern Market on Flower Day on May 13th, it would have meant we would have had to get about 50 people, basically fill the bus, and everybody wanted to pay $25 a person to do it. We ran some surveys out on the Facebook page. We got, I think, 25 people saying, yeah, they would be interested at $25, but, that's no commitment. So I don't think we're going to be able to put that one together, and I don't know if any of the other ones, maybe the Tiger game or Red Wings game, people might be a little more enthused about, and given what you would pay for parking at one of those events, but that's what it's looking like. We're going to have to fill a bus and charge $25 a head to be able to do bus trips. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Need a bigger bus.
Or a shorter bus.
Yeah.
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 And then, other than that, we got all kinds of other events planned almost every month. We got the spring garage sale. It's already going into planning. We're doing a 5K race on May 27th. Putting together another nice program for Tuesdays in the park. And then a summer garage sale. Fishing contest I'm going to co-chair on August 12th. Corn roast on September 9th. We're already quite a bit of planning work getting going on that. And then holiday decorating contests, snacks with Santa, letter to Santa. So yeah, we got something going just about every month, it seems.
It's exciting.
We had a joint session with council as far as the playground, the new playground upgrades, and
they've pretty well settled on the design for the playground upgrades for Clara Miller, and they're sending out for quotes. Hoping to get it done this summer, ideally before the corn roast. So that's what it's going for.
Sounds great. Cool. Thank you for the report, Brian. That brings us to water management.
Yeah. Boy, everybody's been active. I'm just trying to hit the high points. We're hoping to get 50 bags at $7 a bag to recycle shrink wrap on people's boats. See if that works for a while.
Yeah, I put mine out with my curbside recycling, and they take it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. This bag would be designated specifically for that, so I would imagine, does everybody on the lake?
I don't know if people really know about it.
All right. Do you bag it or no?
No, I just had it all rolled up. In fact, the first time I had my recycling, I rolled up the old shrink wrap, had it sitting there next to the trash, and thought it was going with the trash. Well, the recycling guys came first, and they took it. So,
excellent. Okay. Well, I'll talk to the water board and tell them that, hey, maybe we don't need to get the bags if everybody...
If you just roll it up pretty tight.
I think the concern was
actually might be a good thing to post on the website.
Yeah, because a lot of people aren't aware of this.
Right.
All right.
Agreed.
Maybe an email blast.
Glad I came to this meeting. Okay, another thing is, we're working on a safety fair that we hope to have on May 20th. So it's going to be sandwiched between your 5K run on the 27th and whatever's, there's a motor safety class on the 13th.
15th.
15th.
Well, there's two.
Okay, all right.
I think it's April 13th and...
Okay. We heard there was going to be one on May 13th, which is, May 13th, which is a Saturday.
And it's April 15th.
Okay.
There's one. Yeah, that's what it was. I knew it was one on the 15th.
So we're going to try, we already got a bouncy house lined up, and we got people talking to the bait shop and all that sort of thing to get people in there. We're going to try to have it over at the launch, but we talked to the DNR, and the DNR isn't interested in letting us close it up for a couple hours, so.
Well, we had it before. I know we've had a couple of them in the past.
Yeah. Were they at the launch?
At the launch.
Okay.
We moved them off the side, but depending on the traffic, it could get a little busy.
That's what we were thinking.
I was going to say, to have a bounce house at something like that, really, it'd be nice to have just activities for the kids to do related to the water.
Yeah.
Because you get them in a bounce house, then all they're going to be doing is bouncing around that.
Yeah, that's true.
The whole idea would be to, I know before we had like 100-foot, guess how far 100 foot is.
Oh, okay.
100-foot rule?
Yeah.
So you had like 3 or 4 stakes out there and have them guess what it was.
Yeah.
And then we had like, toss for a PFD, personal flotation. You could toss that. Let's see, what else was there? There was some neat things.
Yeah.
And then police department was there showing, what proper things you need to have on a boat, so.
Cool.
That might be.
Yeah, I know Ryan's coordinating with.
Try to get some activities that, little kids can do to familiarize water safety might be better than a bounce house or a slide or something like that. That's all I was going to say.
Okay. Well, I know that Base Shop was gonna maybe put together a casting thing for
Yeah,
kids.
well, that'd be
So
neat
they
too.
can do, you know, that
And you,
kind
I
of-
mean, if safety's a concern over the launch, you could have it over at Claire Miller.
That's what we were thinking, is maybe Claire Miller might be a better way to go.
And if you don't, you know, if you don't want to go down to the main park, I mean, we could even do it over here by the
Right down
Veterans
here.
Memorial.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Yeah.
All right, we're looking at, well, actually, we talked to Progressive, and we're encouraging them, they're encouraging us to act ahead of time. The water's deeper, or not deeper, it's rising better this year.
we
And
closed the gates earlier, yeah.
yeah, and it's just generally warmer, so we're concerned about an algae getting a jump on us, so we're going to stay on top of that. We talked about that map that I'd mentioned before, the interactive map. We figured that we're going to go to the board and ask for shared cost, because the map would take about 80%. You'll be hearing about that at council.
I'm sure we will.
We were talking to the DPW about catch basin cleaning, making sure that that's going. We think we're going to try and do it at least twice a year. And I guess the last thing is we're looking, right now, we're gathering people together for the egg and nest goose thing. Goose roundup can't happen again this year,
Right.
apparently, because of avian flu. So we're taking a look at the nest and egg.
I'd be interested in joining that.
Okay, good. I'll get your name out there, because they're looking for people that are, well, generally younger than me. You have to be a bit vigorous to be able to, you know, get in the water and slosh around the nests and stuff, so, okay. And I think that's, and the other thing is we're gonna encourage people to get more aware about a rotating sewers, not a rotating, but just a continuous SAD. We've got a couple of people on the list, we're getting the word out about people that may want to do construction additions, that sort of stuff, or if their septic field is starting to show some age, getting part of a SAD is probably the best way to go instead of footing the bill yourself, so.
Okey-doke. Thank
That's
you,
it.
Paul, for
You're
a
welcome.
great report. That brings us to announcements.
I don't think we have any.
Okey-doke, I'd love to hear a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, motion by Snyder, second.
Sure.
Second by Nedrow, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody, for
Thank you.
volunteering your
Whoa,
precious
you.
time. We appreciate